Hello and welcome back to the Start to Glamping Business podcast. Today we have our first ever Californian glamping resort interview. We're joined by Brandon and Ryen Leyva. They are the co-founders of NOMA Resort in California. So guys, we're really excited to talk to you today. The California element particularly because we know how difficult it can be to get permits there, so it'd be interested to see what your journey was like, whether it was kind of typical for the Californian experience or whether it was a little more easier than usual. But before we get into all of that, I just want to sort of set the scene for the audience. So if you could just give me a little kind of overview of what your glamping business is, what units you have, how many, and just a general sort of vibe for the experience that you create for your guests, and we can go from there.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. I guess I'll go ahead and hop in on that intro on the units. So what we have right now are 3 cabins and 4 geodomes, working on getting our 5th one up live. And basically what we offer people is kind of this Yosemite experience without the crowd. So we're an hour south from the entrance of Yosemite and on 143 acres with 4 ponds and a river running through it and an organic apple orchard. And so we just have a lot of that come to the forest, enjoy the ponds, enjoy nature, and it's really peaceful and quiet up here in the Sierra National Forest where we're at. I would say we have a lot of big plans to deliver an even better guest experience, and we can talk more about what that looks like in the future. But right now, we just allow guests to really enjoy the ponds and the orchard and just the serenity that we have up here. In pretty nice accommodations, our geodomes have heating and AC and, nice beds, have private bathrooms and all of that. And so it's a really comfortable experience for our guests.
And we will get onto the future plans towards the end, but you mentioned you're an hour from Yosemite. Is that a big draw for your guests?
Definitely is. We have guests from a lot of different places, though. I mean, we have a lot of people who want to go to Yosemite, and they specifically kind of like that it's a little bit outside of the park because in the park can be kind of crazy with traffic and everything in there. So it's we're kind of like the peaceful backyard of Yosemite a little bit, and we're just right in the middle of Sierra Mountain Range. So they like that. But we have guests who are just coming maybe not for Yosemite, maybe just to be in the mountains because they're from LA or San Francisco and they've done Yosemite and they don't want the crowds, but they do want the mountains. And obviously a lot of like Central California and stuff will come up. But we've had guests from just in the last 9 months, every continent on the planet. So I think a lot of that Yosemite draw is bringing people out, and then they're ended up staying with us.
Yeah, and as the industry develops, we probably will focus more on locations and specific amenities and USPs and everything like that. But I think it's important to remember that ultimately glamping is so big because it creates an opportunity for people to experience nature with a sense of luxury, and we can kind of easily overlook that. It's kind of become just normal. But yeah, absolutely for city people, regardless of kind of accommodation type, regardless of whether there is a world famous national park on the doorstep, any opportunity for kind of city people to get out into nature and just reconnect with that part of their lives is I think something important to emphasize about the glamping industry and what it is at its core. So tell me a little bit about your guys' backstories. You are brothers, so I imagine it's interesting working with your brothers, but tell me a little bit about your backstory and then how you got into this industry and how you decided to set up NOMA Resort.
Sure. I guess I can take that one. We all basically were in college studying and figuring out what we wanted to do with ourselves. This is when our dad got diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, and he was running a software company that he started when he was younger. And we kind of jumped out of college as soon as we graduated and jumped right into the family business with our dad and our brothers, and we started working and helping out there. And we didn't know what our skill sets were yet, but in about 5 years, we about tripled the size of his company and scaled it to a decent size, and then helped sell it for my parents' kind of retirement and exit. And so after we had scaled and sold a software company into some pretty decent sized business, we were like, oh man, this is fun. Like this business stuff is fun, and we're kind of more entrepreneurial than we thought. And so we left that space, and we were like, now that we've kind of had this business experience under our belt, and we have a little bit of, means to do something else, what could we do that's like the most fun that we could do? What could we orient ourselves towards that's the most impactful for humanity, beneficial for people, and really fun for us? And we grew up camping and hiking all the time. And just being brothers outdoors, going on crazy adventures, doing scary things, hard things, rock climbing, exercises where you just, if your brother drops you, you die, like we would do like all sorts of crazy like bouldering and stuff, and we developed this bond as brothers, which, you mentioned it's hard for people to work with family sometimes. We feel like, who else would we rather work with than our brothers, because we trust each other more than anyone else, because we've been through so much. And so that's why we love working together. And we just were like, let's marry all of this along with some tenets from our wives, and mental health journeys and yoga studies and all sorts of things that we've done, and like tie it together into an outdoor experience that we think will really help people build family relationships and find belonging in their own families and in their own homes through kind of an experience that shadows kind of how we grew up. So that's the short of it, but that's what we decided to do and why we jumped into this space.
Yeah, you say you all get on really well. There must be the occasional squabble, surely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I feel like in any good relationship, just because it goes really well doesn't mean it's without contention or fighting. It just means that everyone knows that they have each other's best interest at heart, and at the end of the day, you're going to get through those things. You're going to work through those things. You're going to push through them instead of avoid each other and run away from them, right? It's like conflict is normal, but leaning into it and letting love for each other overpower, I think, is what's most important.
Yeah, I would even argue that conflict is necessary and a really crucial part. Like, we have conflict all the time for sure, but it's how we deal with the conflict and what we're pursuing together that makes it make sense and makes it work.
So amazing. That's great. It's a family venture. You guys are doing really well. I know you've got expansion plans. But going back to the start, and when you decided to start this business, did you, going into it, were you aware of the glamping industry? Did you know, for example, how much it might cost to set up, and were those costs kind of matched with your expectations, or did you kind of just go in a little bit naive and feel it out as you went along?
Yeah, I feel definitely a little naive. I mean, we learned a lot in the process, but we didn't know exactly what we were getting into, and we didn't know a ton about glamping either. Ryan actually, after selling the business, we looked at a lot of different businesses that we might want to start. We knew we wanted to start something together. We weren't exactly sure which direction to take it. And Ryan had a friend who had a geodome in the Grand Canyon that he told us about, and we had never heard of a geodome before, but he was showing us pictures, and we were like, man, this is so cool. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Like, everything we love about nature, but it's super nice. And so we were like, well, that's a really cool idea. Like, what if we could all work together and make something bigger than just one geodome in the Grand Canyon? And so we started doing a lot of research on different providers and downloading national park statistics from government websites and trying to decide where we want to be, crunching a lot of numbers. And anyways, through that process is how we kind of came to found NOMA and where we're at. And definitely when we started, we chose a bigger property because we wanted to have room to scale. But we just found somebody who was selling some used geodomes from the Grand Canyon that they were getting rid of, and we picked those up, and we were like, we're going to find some land to put these on. And ended up finding this place in California, and the vision's grown bigger and bigger over time as we've acted. So
amazing. And one of the common questions we get at Glampitect about from prospective operators is about the zoning and permitting process. Some people have it really, really easy. Some people have absolutely nightmare experiences. And a common story of California glamping developments is that the state can get involved quite a lot. It can get pretty expensive when it comes to land studies and just lengthy processes, expensive processes. Was that your experience, or did you have a bit more of a straightforward route to opening up?
So we had a couple of things in our favor. The property that we found, a different group had been working on that property prior and had already got a conditional use permit authorized for RV and campsites, as well as like a a lodge to be built out there for kind of a wellness retreat type of place. And that was a huge thing, just having that already on the property when we got it. They ended up not going through with their project for different reasons, and so that was helpful. And then we also have 6 different parcels on the property, and so they're all neighboring parcels and they're all the property, and there's no more neighbors outside of us, just forest. And so what we learned pretty quickly was the different houses all are on different parcels, and we could pretty quickly pull Airbnb permits on the cabins because they were all on their own parcel under some pretty simple rules. So we got those permitted really quickly, and we are still doing some work with the grand vision and the full build out to like go back and amend the CUP and everything for the full vision that we're going for, and that is a process. It's still something that we're working on to get to the full level that we want it to be at, but we've done things like hire architects and people who can come and weigh in on that. It's definitely taking longer than we wanted it to. It's definitely more expensive than we wanted it to be. But we're pretty lucky that we're in a favorable county who has told us, hey, we love the project. We want something like this here. And, we want to help get it through. And so, although that a lot of that, so the existing CUP is good and has helped us get our start, but we do need to make some amendments and some changes. And that process, I think we're going through it like everybody else. It is difficult, but we're trying our best to navigate it with all the different experts involved, and we're determined to push through it. I mean, other people have pushed through it in California, so it's not impossible, and we have a favorable county, so that's how we're chugging along right now.
One of the things that, just piggybacking on what Ryan said, we might not have the best experience with how the whole permitting process goes in the beginning just because of, it's kind of the CUP existing and everything. Maybe in a year from now, we'll have a lot more to talk about CEQA and other things as we pursue our bigger build out and our amendment. But one of the things that has kind of driven us or given us a little bit of inspiration is like, hey, permitting in California is really hard. Permitting in a lot of other places can be hard. And that can be a negative thing. It can also be a positive thing in the sense that, hey, sometimes where it's really easy to get permitting, barriers to entry are really low and there can be a lot of competition. But if you're willing to stick through the permitting process and get to it, then you kind of have a barrier to entry that can help your business if you can make it to the other side. And so we're just trying to be consistent, persistent, and make that happen.
Absolutely. And then when it came to the actual construction, so you've got the permits, then you needed to actually, construct the physical site and do all the groundworks and everything like that. Did you guys manage that yourselves, or did you bring someone in to oversee that process?
So we actually did bring in a partner who with a construction background, who was a friend that we knew growing up here in Reno. And actually his family owned like a general contracting business, and he did a lot of metal and custom work and stuff. So, and to be honest, the first time around, just getting our initial domes and bathrooms and stuff built, it was a lot of him going out there, us hiring some short-term labor, and us going out there ourselves and plumbing 7 bathrooms, and learning plumbing, hiring a plumber and working next to him for 2 weeks. And so we kind of just went out there and did it. Ourselves with a lot of that stuff, and then with that guy helping lead us, and that was good. I mean, we were able to get the job done and get things up, but then we were like, yeah, for the next phase, we're not doing this again. We're definitely getting a full general contracting company and doing it that way, next time.
Yeah, typical one of those lessons that you learn along the way, and when you do it again, you just apply them and you just get better. And yeah, I think that's a pretty typical story, to be honest with you. And then so once you've opened up, or maybe even before you've opened up, you start thinking marketing strategy. And you guys are probably relatively young for or certainly compared to the typical glamping operator. So that may give you an advantage when it comes to social media marketing and everything like that. So did you have a particular marketing strategy when you sort of either when you opened up or even before you opened up?
We've talked about marketing a lot. I think that the biggest thing that we've tried to do is really think about what it is that we're offering to our guests, what makes us unique and what sets us apart, and how can we share that offer in a compelling way. And then once we have that, that should drive conversions when people come to our site. We haven't done anything super unique yet in terms of marketing, at least not on the kind of glamping overnight stay side. We've done more unique things in the event business that we have on site as well. But we mostly get our traction through OTAs like Airbnb, VRBO. I think that's probably pretty common for a lot of glamping people. One thing that we have been doing though is making sure that our guests, when they access our Wi-Fi, are able to sign in with like their phone number and their email, and that way as we gain customers, we're building up a consistent customer base with our own data that we can then do remarketing to and help build our ability to get repeat business from.
Yeah, I think that's really important to highlight. A lot of people who maybe don't come from a marketing background or don't really think about those kind of things just wouldn't think of. But getting people on a mailing list, it's a tactic that Glampitect North America we've used to a lot of success. And if you can offer something compelling, for us it's a downloadable guide. For you, it's Wi-Fi. They're both. Well, yours is probably more important than ours, but if you can offer something in return for the guest or the lead giving you their details, then absolutely. And then when it's every year or whatever, if you're running a discount or if it's even their birthday or something like that, you can really remarket to them, and I'm sure that has a big impact on your guest retention as well. Hi everyone, Nick from Glampitect North America here, and I've just got a very quick message to announce some extremely exciting news. Since launching in July 2022, Glampitect North America has made a name for itself in the North American glamping industry. We've consulted on over 40 glamping projects, accumulated over 47,000 podcast downloads and plays, and we're now ready to take the next step. And with that, we're absolutely delighted to announce that we're beginning the process of developing our own glamping projects. We want you to be involved. There are more details to come, but for now, we're taking expressions of interest from prospective investors. We're so excited to get this going. It's been a long time coming, and we can't wait to get you involved. So all you have to do is fill out the form in the description of this episode, and we'll be in touch with more information very soon. We can't wait to hear from you, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. So you mentioned there you have like an events business as well. You do host weddings and events and retreats at NOMA. When did you decide to offer those, and how do you organize those alongside the glamping business?
Yeah, so the thing that was really cool is as we just got up and got live, we have a really nice lodge on the property. One of the existing units is a 5,000 square foot mountain lodge. It's beautiful. And basically, we had somebody, I think it was through Verbo, that messaged us and said, "Hey, do you guys host weddings on your property? I love this house. It's beautiful." And then we were like, wow, like, I hadn't thought of events before, but that's a great idea. Like let's lean into that. So they came up, did a tour, had a small wedding at the house, and we were like, we should really lean into this. So we actually found someone who focuses in like wedding venue, event venue, wedding kind of consulting. She did a little startup program with us, helped us create a downloadable brochure. We did research on kind of other competitors in the area, created different wedding packages for different wedding sizes, and then basically we run paid ads on Facebook and Instagram that people can click on. If they're interested in our wedding space, they can download our brochure, and it launches them into this email automation channel that we do to kind of nurture them. And basically we create opportunities for people to book tours with us. There's a lot of ways that we incentivize booking a tour, but people can come up to the property and see what we have to offer, and if they like it, then we'll sign wedding deals. And it really helps with the outdoor resort because a lot of the people that come for events, what they want is to come for a multi-stay event. Like they might get married on Friday, but they want to stay Thursday, Friday, Saturday night and have their guests stay on the property with them too. And so we'll let people do group bookings and things like that, and book out the whole property for their events, and it's been really exciting. We've done family reunions, weddings, and quinceañeras, and we're hoping to start getting into business and wellness retreats as well.
And is that a significant part of your business now?
It's growing, definitely, and there's I don't know if it is significant. It's definitely material in terms of gross revenue. But it's still just kind of getting its start, I would say. But we felt like another thing, just to give us some background, like I'm a musician, and I was a wedding DJ through college. And so I ended up getting hired a lot when the wedding people wouldn't have a planner at all. And so they'd be like, I would ask them, like, when do I play these different music cues and what's the schedule? And they would be like, well, we don't have a schedule. And then I would end up planning the wedding for them. So we were kind of like already familiar with the space and comfortable with how those events go. And then like my wife's a yoga teacher, and so we've done some different yoga retreats and mindfulness retreats. So like we've been to these group type events, and we just realized that a lot of the people doing these events, they're always looking for a place to go to do them, and looking for a place that's actually, and a lot of people are just like booking a big Airbnb somewhere and then trying to make their event work in it, but it's really not made for it. So we've been trying to find ways to make our space really available for certain types of groups, so that it really does cater to their needs specifically. And we think that as we continue to push on that effort, we see events being a big part of our property's future for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Brandon, you mentioned you've got specific marketing techniques that you use for the wedding element. You run paid ads, you put people into these marketing funnels, which I'm sure we could talk about all day. I don't think it'd necessarily be what our audience wants us to talk about, but in terms of your social media and your kind of more public facing marketing channels, do you focus exclusively on the glamping? Do you focus exclusively on the weddings, or is it a bit of both?
It's both. Yeah. Yep. So we have wedding posts, we have glamping posts, and we also have our organic apple orchard. Right now we're harvesting apples. We've got about 850,000 pounds of fruit on our trees right now that we're working on harvesting, and we share content about that. People love to come up and see that stuff as well.
And if I was to ask you if there's one thing that you would say sets your glamping site, wedding venue, whatever you want to call it, apart from other sites in the area and potentially in the wider area across the US, what would your secret sauce be that you think makes people choose you over other locations?
It's a good question. I mean, there's a couple of nuances to it. One, we want to be a little upper scale compared to some other glamping options. So instead of having shared bathrooms and no running water at some places and only community eating locations, we do things like there's a hot shower right next to your geodome and it's private just for you in the bathroom. There's running water, hot water. There's AC and electric. There's heating in the winter. We want to be year round, but keep you comfortable. Instead of just having a tent that comes ebbs and flows with the nature's temperatures. And so we're really trying to focus on it's kind of glamping, but it's almost leaving glamping and becoming an outdoor resort. That's a lot more curated, and then with the experiences that we offer, we're still working on a lot of the experiences, but we're trying to craft. We don't think it's enough to just have a cool unit or a cool property. We think that we need to craft a guest experience that is memorable and drives towards something important. And our central value is belonging. We think it's just a core human need that humans need to feel like they belong, and they often don't in their own homes or in their own social circles. And so we're trying to craft ways to help people experience belonging on our property, whether that's through the fishing or the canoes on the pond or the apple orchard or hiking up the old creek into the waterfall, but not even just those simple things, like even starting to gamify them and stuff. So we're even working on an app with a gamification concept that has challenges of belonging that people can sign up for free anywhere and start playing and earning points. And there's a bunch of points to be had on the property, and you get awards for playing. And so we're really trying to lean into this experience that we're trying to craft and have our property be a place that you go to facilitate this experience, instead of just a place that you go to because you want to be in Yosemite.
Yeah, and I get the sense from what you've said so far, that there is a lot more to come at NOMA. I feel like this is almost like phase one. You've got the basics there, yeah. And then you're now going to be working on crafting that experience. I know you're working with Zach Stoltenberg at Clockwork, who is a friend of the podcast and a friend of Glampitect, and I know if he's got anything to do with it, you're going to be coming up with all sorts of creative ideas in the future. So tell us a little bit more about those expansion plans and what you've got in store at NOMA.
Yeah, so kind of like Ryan said, we're really working on creating a belonging style experience, an experience that delivers on belonging for our customers. And what we're working on right now is doing a capital raise to raise a significant amount of money so that we can build up to 40 units in this next phase with a restaurant on site, and have 3 distinct villages each of the villages are going to be catered towards the experiences that we believe drive belonging, which are adventure, awareness, alignment. There's a ton that we could say about those. But yeah, we're looking to unique villages. We're going to have domes and A-frame style cabins and some other kind of luxury upper end cabins that go into these. And then, like Ryan said, a really heavy focus on unique experiences, amenities, and excursions that people can do on site. That's what we're headed towards.
And ultimately, is it going to be a multi-location company?
You know, I think as everyone says, our hope is that this first property goes well and we learn through all the hard things and we scale it up, and then if we can get a real good wrap on it, absolutely, we'd like to be in other locations, and so that's the dream. And one thing that's really fun is we're just like theming this entire property. I won't share the theme yet on this podcast. We'll keep it secretive for now, just mostly to surprise everyone when it comes out. But we're gonna have like a whole kind of theme to it that really just makes it super unique. And but the values are that Brandon talked about are the core of the experience, and so we're really excited about finding new and interesting ways to implement the values in different thematic ways at future properties and stuff. So yeah, we have big plans and dreams, but we're still in the early days, and we still have a long road ahead of us of just making sure that the concept all is there and works before we can get to that point.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to get you back on for the once you've expanded and you got those 40 units. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about then as well. I'm going to ask you individually the question that I ask every glamping operator at the end of this podcast. So first, Brandon, are you happy with your decision to start a glamping business?
Yes, absolutely. I would say it was for sure harder than I thought it was going to be. Probably because we swung bigger than I realized we were swinging when we did. But I'm really happy. I wouldn't take it back, and I feel like the challenge is part of what makes it so exciting. There's just so much to learn and so much to improve, and it's really awesome.
And Ryan?
Definitely happy. It has been the hardest thing I've ever done to this point in life, harder than scaling a software company and selling just starting this glamping business. But it's really fun. It's super rewarding. We've learned a ton. Even if things don't work out for whatever reason, I won't regret it. We'll have learned so much through the process. And if things do go how we want them to and we keep pushing along and it works out, then it's going to be incredible. And we're going to have a brand that I think really does change the world and impacts a lot of people in a lot of meaningful ways. And what better thing to do with life than spend time on something like that? So I definitely don't regret it. Really happy about it. It's very hard, but we're just leaning into that. And the more we do hard things, the more we learn we can do hard things, and we're excited about it. So we just keep pushing forward.
Amazing. And if someone wants to get in touch, whether it's to book a stay, book a wedding, or just speak to you about your experiences, how do they go about doing that?
www.nomaresorts.com. NOMA, N-O-M-A. So yeah, that's our website. It's super simple, and you can check out our units that are available and the website, the weddings and everything's on the website right now. Or follow us on Instagram is a good place.
At NOMA Resorts on Instagram. And if you want to reach out to us individually to ask about our experience, you can reach out Brandon at nomaresorts.com or Ryan at nomaresorts.com. Ryan is R-Y-E-N for those listening. It's a unique spelling of the name.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I say, we will definitely be getting you back on once you've completed the expansion, and I'm sure there's going to be a whole load of new learnings and everything off the back of that. So, but for now, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Nick.
thanks, Nick.